Red Recover. Look around the NFL. Go to redrecover.com. Use our code Big O. You will get 10% off. There you go. No, your hat is straight. You're looking good. You're looking good.
Making sure.
All right.
What's up?
All right. So when does Trey Flowers sign, or does he sign? What happened? Tell me.
I would say it's possible. And I think it was certainly an interesting thought. And, you start to look around the league and try to figure out where some of these veteran free agents going to go. This always made sense, and not just before, there was sort of a need at the position. Van Ginkel, I guess, kind of created this need, but this makes sense. I mean, scheme-wise, culture-wise on the defense, he's obviously been in it a couple times with the Lions, with the Patriots. He is a veteran who, I will guess is not going to cost a ton of money, probably some, but not very much. This makes a lot of sense. I mean, he's in for a visit today. Generally, teams don't bring in guys for visits this time of year without being like, all right, if we were going to do a deal, what would you take? So my sense is both sides know. Not saying it's going to happen, but I do think it's very possible, and, hopefully know by early this afternoon.
Okay, Eagles just made a trade right now. They have agreed to trade DB Ugo Ahmad to the Titans. So
yeah,
I
think what you're getting this time of year is, that's a guy that was cut by the Seahawks, and they say, you know what, maybe we'll trade him to the Eagles just, for a guy who they might cut, which they did for J.J. Arcega-Whiteside. And then the Eagles were going to release him. There's like, you know what, let's just do a pick swap, and maybe he can land somewhere else. So, these are the kinds of trades you get this time of year when it's, this is not a great word, but trash for trash. Guys who may not make a team, you say, oh, give him a week to maybe he can make a team somewhere.
I'm with you there. All right. What's going to happen with Roquan Smith?
So it seems nothing. And, this has been a lot of things. I know certainly for Chicago Bears fans, it was quite an odyssey. It was a lot. It was a trade request. It was frustration. It was him not practicing. It was all of those things. And I think in the end, the team never really was open to trading him. I mean, they were open to it, but never really got anything close. I think because of his position, there wasn't great value there where a team, would give up a real draft pick and pay him a new contract, which he wanted. So if it wasn't going to get traded, then it was about the new contract. They basically got to a point where they were like, you know what? We are not making any headway. We've each side has gone where we need to go. Let's just stop. And so that's what they did. I think they did the mature thing, the kind of professional thing. They just stopped. And, he'll have a chance to get a new deal this next offseason. Maybe they franchise him. But either way, this saga sort of ended, and now he's back to playing football, which is good.
Bears franchise? Come on. Those guys are cheap. They're not going to franchise him. They may have to trade him by the deadline because they're going to outright lose him probably. Do you see them franchising him and then using that hard money against the cap? That's a problem for him. I mean, look at the Gesicki problem now. That's going to be the main issue to try to trade him. Is that you have to find a team that has the cap space at this point in time. That's going to be really difficult. Besides scheme fit, cap space will be a bitch to trade Gesicki. So you expect them to tag Roquan next year? If they're not willing to pay him, they're willing to tag him at the highest salary.
I mean, one thing the tag does is it sort of sets the parameters for a new contract, right? It actually, I know everyone hates the franchise tag. There are plenty of examples, and this would be one, where a team can tag him and then they're like, all right, well, here's basically the parameters for the deal, right? It would be, you'll get the franchise tag the first year, the second franchise tag the second year, and then whatever else the following years, but here's kind of the framework. So that actually sometimes helps do a deal. We'll see if the Bears have to franchise him next year. If he's their best player and he continues to be a star, they probably will. If they don't, it's better for him. He can now go into free agency and I think end up with a really, really, really good situation and the ability to make a lot of money.
Hell, I was saying trade Jerome Baker in a mid-round pick and then get Roquan back since they both play the weak side. And then they get a guy that's already under contract for a couple years. They're kind of cheap. They get their guy. And then Miami will probably be willing to pay Roquan a little bit more than Jerome Baker would be getting. And there you go. Everybody's kind of happy. They get their lower priced linebacker, and Miami will get Roquan Smith. What do you think about that?
Well, I would say the fact that Miami has already, paid Baker, already put a bunch of money in that kid, he might not want to make them do that. Plus, I think once you add an unknown to the mix, once you add, say, even a great player, like you're just going to be the middle of our defense without having done it, it makes it extremely difficult. I mean, there's, everybody loves trades. I love trades. It's a very trade happy NFL. There's a lot
Of course you love it. You break them all the damn time. That's why you love them.
It's great, and it's so much fun. But there's a lot of history with trades not working as opposed to trades actually working.
Yeah, we know about that here in Miami. Trust me, we know about some trades that have not worked out for the Miami Dolphins. Kenyon Drake, what happens to Kenyon Drake? Because I'm looking at Sony Michel here as the third back. Not reliable because his durability is always an issue. Chris Greer drafted Kenyon Drake. Chris Greer and company, they love their SEC players. And
but traded him, I believe, too, right?
Huh? Yeah,
him, right?
Yeah, but it wasn't him that traded him. It was Gase. Just like Trey Flowers will come back and work out for you because Brian Flores isn't here. And so, you know what I'm saying? So those kind of things. So I think Kenyon Drake would be open to coming back. But anyway, you tell me what's going to happen with Kenyon Drake. It looks like he's going to get outright released. And who's interested in Kenyon Drake?
Yeah, I mean, he's been outright released. And, as far as who's interested, I hate to say this, but like he might end up as one of those guys that might have to wait till after week one. That might have
the guarantee deal is that so he's a week-to-week guy. Oh God.
Yeah. So, and that's tough. So
dude, isn't it weird because that kid is productive?
Is he?
And yet somehow or another, he's like the redheaded stepchild or something. It's the weirdest thing how he never finds a home, yet when you give him opportunities, he'll do some stuff that will wow you at times.
Yeah, and he's made some money, so he's going to have a better life than he otherwise might have. The contract was so bad. I mean, that was one of the worst contracts I can remember. I don't know what the Raiders were doing. I mean, and obviously they've all been fired, so that makes sense, but like I don't know what in the world they were doing. But I think he's one of those guys that when you have him, you already like, all right, well, we got to improve here. And if you're the Raiders and you're trying to start off a new thing and you have a guy who doesn't fit great and might not get the role he wants, I think outright releasing him is not really a bad move, honestly.
Right. What are you hearing in Patriot land? Because it continues to not sound like it's going smoothly there on the offensive side of the ball.
I want to say first and foremost, the Patriots will be fine. They will always be fine. Till the end of time, the Patriots will be fine.
On this radio hit, on this radio hit, you can kind of stay away from the praise to the Patriots. I'm just saying, I'm just saying, there's a lot of Dolphin Nation here watching and listening. So
I get it.
You don't have to do too many compliments to the Patriots. Not too many.
I get it.
You got enough titles already. They don't need the compliments too. You know what I'm saying?
They do have some titles. That is true. The most important thing about the Patriots, and this is something I learned covering them and kind of watching them really closely over the last several years. It's almost like they treat the preseason and the first couple of weeks of the actual season as like a whole dress rehearsal. They are constantly like juggling this, juggling that, kind of moving guys in and out, shuffling guys in and out. It's even though they look like a little bit of a mess now, I think they're going to be fine and figure it out because they're going to work and work until they get the right formula. I will also say, and there's been a lot of focus, of course, on, who is going to be the play caller. Belichick is going to be heavily, heavily involved. I'm not saying he's going to call the offense, but he's going to have his fingerprints on everything, as he did last year with the defense. I think that makes me even more so think that they're going to end up being fine.
Today, Tua was asked about what was different. And, he talked about his assistant coaches and the head coach and the vibe and everything else. And I don't know how much of a football historian you are, but today Lenny Dawson passed away. And years ago or decades ago, Hank Stram called Paul Brown and said, "Hey man, what are you doing with Lenny Dawson? He's sitting there on the bench. He was like the third string quarterback, and he wanted to trade for him." And Paul Brown, back in those days, imagine this. He tells Hank Stram, "Now Hank, listen, I think Lenny's lost it. You may end up. This may cost you your career if you make a move for Lenny Dawson." So this is a third string quarterback that he doesn't need. He's not even using. And he's telling the other coach, "Yeah, you sure you want to make this trade?" So he makes the trade. The rest is history. Nobody believed in Len Dawson, but Hank Stram did. And Hank Stram had the right offense and everything else and put Len in the right position. The rest is history. He became what he became for Kansas City, for an entire fan base, for an entire culture, for an AFL league that was trying to be respected with their NFL peers in those days. And so he became that legend. And a lot of that, I spin it to what's going on in Miami, where Tua did not have someone that believed in him, that supported him. And it's interesting that Hank Stram and McDaniel are kind of doing the same thing 60 years apart, but it's kind of the same story again. I believe in you, kid. And that's kind of what's happening. On a day when Len Dawson passes away, I see Tua today talking about what's different, and it reminds me of the same situation.
Yeah, that's fascinating. I honestly had not heard that story with Len Dawson, but I think, as it pertains to Tua, that it's hard to quantify how different life is when you have a coach or whoever it is, general manager, owner, whatever, who says, like, you are my guy and I'm going to make sure that you're successful. Obviously, the last couple of years with Tua, it was not that way. And I think, certainly there were some people in the building, may not be there anymore, who pretty quickly on upon drafting, they were like, oh, we should have drafted the other guy. Now, he is Mike McDaniel's guy. He is the best option. He is his only option. If Tua is successful, then McDaniel will be successful. It's very simple. It's mutually beneficial for both of them to be awesome. I do think it's a good situation for Tua. And at the end of this year, we'll know. There won't be any more arguments. There won't be any is he a franchise guy? We're going to know. Like, this is enough sample size. We will know.
Yeah. I'm with you. And by the way, watching Tyreek Hill I've never seen this, in person. Like, I watch him on TV and all that. When you watch him in practice, it's a whole different ballgame. He is uncoverable.
Yeah.
No one can stay with that.
To be fair, that's what it's been like in games the last several years also.
That's what I'm saying. But in a game, you don't really realize it like you see it in practice. Like in practice, like today, he thoroughly embarrassed Darius Slay every single time. And he makes cuts at high rates of speed like I've never seen anybody. Most guys have to slow down to make a cut or whatever. This guy can cut on top end speeds and cut in one direction or another, and no human being can do that. And because he has thighs like fire hydrants, that it's like the Nolan Ryan thing. Why was Nolan Ryan such a great pitcher for 20 years? Because he had legs like this. His thighs were tree trunks. So his core was amazing. And that's what I've been amazed with Tyreek Hill, that he is a freak, an absolute freak, man.
Yeah, and I'm like, really looking forward to seeing. And there's actually a lot of things I'm looking forward to seeing this season, but that's definitely one of them because, like, and practice videos have been cool. It seems like he's been better than they thought. Great, like really good.
Yeah.
But to see it in the game is, I think kind of next level, and that's going to be really fun. I mean, there's a lot of things that they're going to be fun this year, and I'm kind of getting to the point now where I'm like, let's go. Like,
yeah, I'm with you.
Let's go. Let's see it. Like, let's go.
I'm with you. All right. Follow him on Twitter at Rap Sheet. Catch his work there at the NFL Network. And you better follow him on Twitter because he's breaking all those trades because he loves trades. And we
Absolutely.
love you. Ian, we'll catch up next week, my brother. Be safe in your travels.
All right. Thanks, man. Look forward to it. Take care.
You got it. There you go. You are now out of the huddle. Or no, actually, the huddle's coming up. You are out of the NFL round trip.